Hey, what's up? This is Jeramie Kling from Inhuman Condition, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Okay, there we go.
How are you?
Um, I am great, brother. I am actually in the mountains in North Carolina,
Oh, nice.
so super nice. Yeah, we have some family up here, so it's like there's like a trout pond back here and creeks, and
What part of
yeah,
North Carolina?
pretty awesome. Robbinsville, so it's close to Asheville.
Okay, yeah, I used to go
Um,
to Franklin all the time. I lived in Florida. We used to vacation in Franklin a lot. That's not far from there, right?
oh, okay, cool. No, I don't. I don't think it is far. Yeah, so it's but Wi-Fi. So we'll see how good it is. It seems
Yeah.
to be holding up so far. I mean, I can see you. So cool.
Hey, my
All right.
partner's running
I
late.
was,
He may
I
or
was a
may
little
not.
worried.
No, no worries. You're good. My partner may or may not jump in. He's running a little bit late, so easy.
Okay. All
Either
right.
way. Are you guys just relaxing before you hit the road?
Oh man, yeah. I got like I had 2 weeks in between tours. I did the U.S. tour, the West Coast with Venom, and I have like little under 2 weeks, and then all of August I'm gone. I fly out actually the 30th, and I do some gigs with Venom, and I have all of Deicide's European runs. So I'll be there until like September 6th. Then I'm back home for like another 2 weeks and a couple shows with Inhuman Condition, and then U.S. tour with Venom again. So like touch and go, touch and go. So my wife's like, I was thinking maybe we should go to the mountains. I'm like, book it now, or else it won't happen.
Right.
Let's fucking do it.
That's good though. You're busy, but I guess it's kind of tough too, right? Keeping up with everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old thing of I'm not allowed to bitch about it, so I don't.
Fair enough. So we'll
I
get
have
off that then.
it's
But your tour, I've been
yeah.
reading or keeping up with you online. Your tour is selling pretty well overseas, right?
Um, yeah, dude, everything has been like very, very good, and there's been lots of talks about like recession and like recession as far as like people going to shows and stuff like that. I haven't really super experienced too much of that, and I'm thankful. Actually, it doesn't even make any sense because like Overkill, I've been watching their tour, and it's been like looking great for those guys. They have like the crowds are there. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess we can never really believe the hype of fucking anything. Really, you just kind of have to go out there and experience it. So
How are
whatever.
you? How are you handling the touring in this weather? It's got to be pretty shitty too, right? Or you just don't.
Yeah, it is what it is, and thankfully most of the places have air conditioning. There's only a couple places that have like a swamp air conditioners that gets defeated quickly by like 6 o'clock.
Right, right.
But I am from Florida, so all of my training has been in storage units and garages with no air conditioning. So
It is what it is.
I don't function better in it. I can just do it and, not fully die of heat stroke. But sometimes it does feel like I may die of heat stroke. But, it is what it is. Game on. Again, we can't complain about it. So
So let's talk about Panic Prayer then. Yeah, it came out what, like 3 days ago? I guess 4 days ago.
yeah, the 21st. Yeah.
What's been the response to it so far?
Uh, we just decided to do an EP because we knew we would not be able to tour that much this year. And Taylor and I just had an inkling to add some more music to the repertoire. And we just did that. We just moved forward with that. We jammed on a couple tunes, which was Civilized Holocaust and Final Credits. Of course, those weren't the working titles. Final Credits was actually called Chuggernaut, which is such a great name, and I almost named the damn song that. And I'm like,
That's my
oh,
favorite on the EP for sure.
yeah, really awesome. Well, I love it too, and I thought the name. I was like, I don't think I can make Chuggernaut work. Anyway, so I end up passing on it, but we just started there, and it just kind of grew, and like the idea of it grew, and we just released it. And it's surprising, because EPs historically don't do well really for any bands. They just kind of like they put them out and it's fine. And then sometimes it does take off and there's like a lead single, but for the most part, EPs like are viewed in the industry as like throwaways. But this one doesn't feel like that. I had an idea, like woke up in the morning, and that's when I do some of my best thinking. Like the first like 10 minutes of me being like coming into the twilight of life, and I had the flashes of like seeing the Rat God guy being behind some blinds, and I'm like, wow, I just did a rudimentary drawing like I usually do, and I sent it over to Dan Goldsworthy, and of course we call him Babe Ruth because that dude just fucking kills it every time, in our opinion.
Right.
Our opinion, naturally,
Sure.
So some people may go, I hate his stuff, and it's like, okay, well, fine, you're allowed to hate it. That's okay. But man, he just killed it. This is actually my favorite piece that he's illustrated for us. So he sent us back the album artwork, and it was like, wow, because
Yeah,
I
color and
saw it
everything.
all the way black.
Yeah.
Man, just the color. He was like, Jeramie, the devil is in the details for me. Like, I am a scenery artist, so he like his comfort zone is in the scenery,
Right.
and he's like, you remove that from me. He's like, you made 50% of it black, so it all just became the focus was in the center, and he said it really pushed him as an artist, and he said it's really fastly became one of his favorite pieces because of that, because it was something a bit different from what he normally does. And I just love it, man. I even like considered getting it tattooed. I was like, man, this is just such a cool looking piece,
Yeah.
So the reviews have all been good. Everyone's really loved it, and they love the live stuff. Because not everybody can come out and see a show.
Right.
And so the reviews have been really good for it. Not really too many bad ones.
That's good. So I know you talked about the EP sort of being a throwaway, but I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the music business has sort of changed, right? Because people have to stay relevant in this weird time we're living in where people have like a 30-second attention span, right? Nobody has the patience for records.
Yeah, no. But the thought there is like, let's say you're an industry Goliath, whatever. You're a Warner Brothers, any of those things,
right.
Warner Electro Atlanta. That's one company. Let's say you're them. You're only as good as your last record sales. So right. If you release an EP and not nobody, but 30% of your people buy it,
right.
You're only as strong as those 30% that bought it. So then you go to take it and go, look, we have all this, and Fear Sick did this, and they go, yeah, but Panic Prayer only sold, So we have our own label, so we absolutely do not give a fuck about any of that stuff. Like, we just don't care at all. And can't, to quote the Brits, can't be fucking bothered, because we can't. We don't do it we're not doing it for the Jets or any of that stuff. It's just because we love music and we know that we can't tour too much this year. So we decided to just release music because, right, it's all about fans. And we can bring it to them, and we can give live music. We can give a touch of live music. We can give some new music, and then we can give a cover because we love covers. And what artist doesn't like to do covers? So,
And that is so well executed. How did you come up with Godzilla?
Oh, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that really happened because my wife and I were at the gym, and Blue Oyster Cult came on at the gym, and I'm like, dude, could you imagine if this was down tuned to D and had some like nasty guitars on it, yet kept it pretty much
the same
how it is? And I'm like, let's do it. I got home and I told my brother, Taylor, I got home and I told my brother, I'm like, dude, what if we did Godzilla? And he was like, oh my God. He's like, I fucking, yep. And that's kind of his and I's problem. Like, if any of you guys know, like, if any of you listeners know my brother and I's work, it's kind of like we have a vast library of stuff, and it's it seems like a limitless well, and that's because both of us kind of are yes men to each other. So it's like, hey, maybe we should do with that, and it's yes. So we like instantly greenlight one another, and we really like push our psychosis. It helps push the whole thing if we just keep it going. So I came home from, like I said, from the gym. I heard the song, and I was like, I think this would be a killer cover. And he was like, yeah, on it. Right. So then by the next day, he already had like a rough outline of it for me. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is amazing. You know, let me go on a tangent here. It'll be about like a 5-minute run of me gabbing, but it'll kind of lend into that same concept of yes man and greenlighting.
Greetings from Evergreen Podcasts. We're rolling out a listener survey, and we want to hear from you. The information in the survey will help us gather statistics and in turn make our shows more appealing to advertisers. I know most people don't like ads, but this is one of the only ways our shows make money and help keep their lights on. We promise it will only take a few minutes, but the impact on our podcasts will be tremendous. As a token of our appreciation, we'll randomly select one lucky participant each month to win an exclusive merchandise package from Evergreen Podcasts. Head to evergreenpodcast.com/listenersurvey to help a show and possibly get some free stuff for doing so. We can't thank you enough for the support. Now back to the show.
We had tracked everything for Panic Prayer. It didn't have a name at the time. It was we had tracked everything for the EP. We had final credits. We had Civilized Holocaust. We had the Blue Oyster Cult cover, and we had the 4 live songs. Mm-hmm. That was it. There was no Panic Prayer. I had a couple shows with Taylor's band Umbilicus. I was doing front of house for them. They were doing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Okay. My grandmother had passed away, and I had to fly to Michigan. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to get there and come home. Like, so Wednesday was the service. I thought it was Tuesday, and I said that in an interview, and I was wrong. But Wednesday was the service. So I flew up on a Tuesday. We had the service Wednesday, and I flew home. And then we had shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday with Umbilicus. So I literally had the tiniest of window. So I'm sitting at the funeral home for my grandmother in Michigan, and my grandmother was not religious at all. There was no iconography around the house, and I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and there was never anything. There was no like, hey, we're going to church on Sunday. Never in the history. I mean, I'm 40, so right. Never. And I was very lucky to have my grandmother for such a long period of time as well. But there was none of that stuff, right? So we meet with a preacher, and he's discussing what he's going to say about the eulogy. And he's like, I don't get preachy. I don't do any of that stuff. That's not my MO, and blah, blah. And right. What do we know about people who say something right out of the gate? They're usually telling on themselves, and it's usually the opposite. Right. Especially with Christian types. Right. So he gets up there, and he's like, she's walking with God, and she's holding his hand, and she had faith her entire life, but now she's crossed over, and she no longer has faith because it's redundant to have faith on the other side. Now she just has eternal life and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
what the hell?
Bro, I was fucking mortified. I was fucking mortified. I'm like, what the? I'm like, you're talking about her like she was, which is fine if she was, which
right.
is
so
fine
it's sort of like hijacked.
Dude, it was totally hijacked. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah, I mean, he like, you know, he gave her this new identity, and I'm like, whatever, right? So instantly, I wrote the chorus for Panic Prayer. So that song, I wrote the whole chorus. We are not the same. I'm not like you. I'm a fucking alien. And then I started writing copy-paste pleasantries, and like the lyrics all came to me. And this was like a 20-minute eulogy, I think, you know, something or other.
You're writing a song.
I wrote the bridge on drums. I wrote the entire bridge on drums. I only had the drums. I was just like fucking angry. And then I wrote the verse, and then I wrote the choruses. I wrote the entire song right there, sitting right there in that 20 minutes. And I told I got home later that day, like I said, Wednesday, and I told my brother, I was like, I have another song for. We already had everything tracked. So Terry's out on tour with the Obituary.
Right.
We had already done everything, and I'm like, I have another song, and I'm plugging all my drums back in because they were unplugged because we had some other project. And I plugged them all back in, and I'm like, I have to record this song tomorrow morning before we go to Orlando to go and start this tour that we got, this little mini tour. I was like, I have this in my head. I was like, this has to come out. Like, and this has to make the record. This is it. And he was like, yeah, okay, you know. And so I woke up in the morning. I recorded all the drums in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. I was like, the click, here's the speed, boom, set me down, go. So all the drums for Panic Prayer were written by me first.
Wow.
And then when we got home from that weekend, Taylor went and wrote the guitar. So he's all the stuff that we hear is post. And we had to have Terry record his bass. Ken from Obituary tracked him in the back of their bus when they were out on the road.
Nice.
And it just is what it is. But you know, we have a yes mentality with one another. And it was like, this means so much. This fucking means so much to me. And this anger that I have is very real.
Right.
And this feeling that I'm feeling is very real, and it has to make this thing. And he was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And it wasn't like a, man, you know, could we just save it for the next one?
Right.
Which I probably would have been like, yeah, we could. But instead he's like embraced it and was like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Yeah, let's put it on and that'll be what it is. And
super cathartic, right?
Super cathartic, right? So even anytime I hear that song, I'm like, it evokes the same emotions. And when I shot the music video for it, it gave me the same emotions. And you know, I hope that I emoted that. I hope that someone received it because man, it meant so much to me. And so we still didn't have a title, and our nuts were kind of up against the wall because we had like a super small window of time frame. And like it was about a week after I was home, the next weekend, something like that. And we were watching Escape from LA. And the president at the end of that movie, right? The Cubans are invading, and also the guy, the ultra bad guy in Los Angeles, was going to push the button and blow the United States up, and
right.
blah 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 blah. And the president, he's like, has a Bible, and he's like, he shits the bed, and he's like, I have to go pray. And he left, and he went into the room, right? And he left the free thinkers there to like sit there and solve the problem.
Right.
And my brother's like, oh my God, he just did a panic prayer. And I'm like, I was like, oh, that's it. I was like, that's the name of the song too. I was like, that's the name of the record. I was like, holy shit. I was like, that's it. You know, it was like, that was it. You know, I didn't have to go any further with it. For me, it was like, wow, killed it. And yeah, anyway, so there's that. And that's the yes relationship. That's the green light relationship that we have, which is how people are like, I don't know how you do it. And it's like, it's the creative part is easy, you know, it's the execution of all the rest of it that becomes
right.
like troublesome or meddlesome, but we just do it anyways, because what's the option? Which is why we started a label, so we could release our own shit and do our own shit and take it at our own time and make our own pace.
Where did you record this at Mars? You guys do it all yourself?
No, we have our own studio.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we have our own studio. It's called Smoke and Mirrors, and I've actually had it for almost 15 years now, and then we ran it together for 10. So, and then we do lots of bands. We have bands in. We mix, master. The most recent was Deicide. They came in and they tracked their newest record with this. We engineered all of it.
Oh, nice.
And yeah.
Because that's one of the first things I noticed. Like, as soon as you put it on, it's big, but it's super clean, right? I mean, it sounds fantastic.
Thank you. So I primarily do most of the mixing. Brother does mixing as well, but I primarily take that on only because we kind of like partition out jobs, and there's so much that goes into like shipping and logistics and blah blah, and he handles that. So I kind of take on all of the mixing responsibility. So I end up doing that, like most of it. So Thank you. I am a student of the Tampa recording scene, and I understand what it needs to sound like, and it's. I also bring an element of that like Swedish cleanliness to the production,
That's
which
what I noticed
I
the most,
personally
right?
love.
Yeah. Yes, and it comes
But
across
it still
for
has
sure.
that old Florida vibe. Yeah,
It
perfect.
definitely has the
Awesome.
old school thing for sure, but it's clean. That's the first thing I noticed when I put it on. I'm like, shit, it's big and badass, but it's clean.
Oh, thank you, man.
I
That
didn't
really means
I didn't put the
a hell of
Swedish
a
thing
lot.
together, but it's definitely like that for sure.
Yeah, they do a good job, and I actually I spent about like 2 or 3 years training with some Swedes doing not live production, doing recording and engineering. So I got a good sense on how and what they did, and I did that back when Riders of the Plague was released by the Absinthe. So in 2007, I started. I really kind of jump started my mixing career, my engineering career then. Jonas Shelgren, the mix engineer and producer for that record. Him and I became fast friends, and I actually started visiting Sweden and staying with him.
Oh,
And
wow.
he's got a split studio with Peter Tägtgren. And I stayed in like the middle of nowhere, Sweden, like the middle of fucking nowhere.
Just working.
Like the town has 300 people there. You know,
Right.
it's like nothing. And learned how to record. You know, I just learned how to record, and that's where some of my my training has come from. So
Neat.
I pair that with the Florida, and
Yeah. And it comes
Here we
across
are.
for sure. Yeah, right on. So the last one I have then, that video for Godzilla. You guys did that yourself, I'm assuming?
It was actually between me and I have a Swedish friend named Daniel Wallstrom, Heavy Groove Media, and we've done a lot of work together.
That's
But he's
great.
been like, yeah, what you think? Because it was like super silly. We were like, fuck it, right? And
No, but it's
it was,
great. I
that
think
was
the
all-
whole mix works, right? It's like super serious, heavy music, a cover,
Yeah.
and then somebody's lips. I'm assuming they're your lips in that Godzilla.
Yeah, they're my lips. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
they're my lips. Yeah.
It's great.
He was he had the idea. He was like, "Hey, just send me your lips," you know. He's like, "Send me your lips and mouth the whole song." And I'm like, "Okay," you know. So that was mostly his idea. My idea was to incorporate some older Godzilla footage in,
Yeah.
and we actually worked together a little bit and came up with how it came up with.
Fucking
But
brilliant. Yeah.
pretty thanks. It was pretty funny. That was he does great work, man. He's a really good friend of mine, and I love his stuff. He's got a different take on all of it. So that video was a shining example of his different take, which I would not have thought of that at all, man. No way. And that's all like a real stop motion. So he really did real stop motion with that stuff.
Oh, really?
It's pretty funny.
Wow.
So I'm like, I asked him, I was like, what app did you use to? Yeah. I was like, what app did you use to do that? He goes, no. He's like, that's just stop motion. He's like, I shot that in an afternoon. I was like, oh, cool. Because I thought it was like an application or something. No, he really just did stop motion on it.
That's great. That's going to bring me to the end of my questions, Jeramie. Did I miss anything you want to cover?
No, I got to talk about all the important bits, I think. It's out now, and give it a spin, and thanks much for listening.
And if fans want to find you in human condition,
Sorry, what were you saying?
I said if fans want to find you in human condition online.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we have Bandcamp. That's where we sell all of our garbage at and peddle our wares, and of course Facebook and Instagram, and then you can see whatever shenanigans we're up to in current day. And if you're in Florida, coming up in September, we have a couple shows with Hatebreed. Come out to those; those are going to be bangers. So come on out.
Always good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, bro.
Hey, be well, travel safe, and we'll talk to you on the flip side.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Later.
Ever wonder what a punch from Elton John feels like?
Or how you'd cope with having turned down the chance to be in Nirvana?
Or what signal Keith Richards gives when he wants you to get the hell out of his hotel room?
Fans of Too Much Effing Perspective don't have to wonder, because they've heard these exact stories and a jillion others on our podcast. I'm Alex Hoffman, former tour manager for Radiohead.
And I'm musician and comedy writer Alan Keller. On the TMEP show, we get guests like Nancy Wilson from Heart, Jeremiah Freight's from the Lumineers, and Modern Family's Julie Bowen to tell us things they may have only shared with their therapist, clergy, or a TMZ stringer.
So join us on Too Much Effing Perspective. That's EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.